Aloha! Hi, Aloha! My name is Stuart K. Hayashi, and I'm coming at you from Hawaii. And in case you haven't noticed, Islam is rather controversial, especially among the atheist community on YouTube and among political conservatives, of course. Um, I'm an atheist, and frankly, I do think Islam is dangerous. I think, especially the fundamentalist version. And I really don't like the idea of Sharia law being imposed in the United States. Now, I'm not for any of that, so I am not some kind of apologist for Islam. But I do have to admit that when I hear people on the political right saying they want Muslims banned from Europe or the United States, I do get worried. And sometimes I do think a lot of this rhetoric can be motivated by prejudice, maybe even racism. Now, that has to be qualified. So a lot of times, if you say anything critical about Islam, very politically correct left-wing people will call you racist. Because they think Islam is synonymous with Arabs or Persians or Africans. And of course, critics of Islam, both the legitimate ones, correct ones, and the actual bigots, you usually come up with the same reply. Islam is not a race. And that's true. Islam is similar to Christianity in that it's a religion that transcends race. Any religion can convert. It's not the case that just Arabs or Persians or North Africans are Muslim. There are Chinese Muslims. There are Filipino Muslims. There are even white European Muslims in Albania. The famous cartoonist Bosch Foston is a very famous ex-Muslim. He comes from a Muslim family. Bosch Foston is a natural redhead. So basically, you can find Muslims of every race, really. So I don't. So if someone comes and criticizes Islam, of course that by itself is not racist. There are many legitimate criticisms to be made of Islam. So, so I don't agree with the actor Ben Affleck when he says criticism of Islam is racist. But sometimes when I hear certain people talking about how they want to ban Muslims altogether from a whole continent, I do get concerned, and sometimes I do worry that racism might be a motivator. And here's why. A lot of times, a specific set of customs come in the minds of many people to be associated with a specific ethnic group or a specific race. And of course, well, for good reasons, racism is much more, it's less acceptable these days. Now it's racism itself that's stigmatized, and I don't mind that. I don't want to go back to a time when racism is not stigmatized. But because racism is so stigmatized, sometimes when people want to convey their hostility towards a specific ethnic group or a specific race, they think of specific customs that are commonly associated with that race, and they'll say something derogatory about that custom in order to hide sneaky way of conveying hostility toward that race. I'll give some examples. Uh, for example, so I'm Asian, I'm East Asian, and I like to eat rice. That's very common. But and I have to make a certain admission here. I actually like to watch some of those reality shows like Big Brother. A few years ago, one contestant on Big Brother got into a lot of trouble because she made a lot of racial epithets. She made a lot of racial comments. She got into some argument with this East Asian girl, and after the East Asian girl left the room, this Big Brother contestant sat under her breath, and cameras caught her. She said, "Go eat some rice." and lots of viewers interpreted that as racist. So I thought to myself, why is that? I wouldn't be surprised if the East Asian girl did eat rice. And I eat rice, and I'm Asian. Of course, not all Asians eat rice, and I don't really think that that contestant really had anything against eating rice at all. I think that she just associated eating rice in her mind with East Asians, and she wanted to say something hostile about Asians, so she said, "Go eat rice." Here's another one. Excuse me. Another stereotype is that black people in the South eat fried chicken. And of course, lots of people besides Southern blacks enjoy fried chicken. I like fried chicken. But several years ago, before the whole Big Brother incident, there was another incident. There was this famous golfer playing against Tiger Woods, who is part black. And that famous golfer lost against Tiger Woods, and he was so frustrated, and he got really mad, and he went up to the camera and said, "Oh, now Tiger Woods is going to go home and eat fried chicken." Do you think that that golfer really has anything against eating fried chicken? No, it was a code for something else. Likewise, this is a more personal story. Every day I used to talk to this man, and for the most part, he was an okay guy, but he really was very against Arabs, and he would often refer to ragheads. He would call them ragheads, referring to the headdress commonly associated with people from the Middle East. And the more I got to know him, the more I realized he had nothing against those headdresses per se. Like if he saw a white guy wearing that same type of headdress, I don't think he would complain. I think that he had this latent animus toward Arabs. But he couldn't just come out and say, "Well, I hate Arabs." So he started talking about how. So he made these derogatory comments about headdresses that are commonly associated with Arabs. So it's true that criticizing another culture's customs is not inherently racist. I mean, really, whether you like or dislike a custom is really up to you. It's not racist per se. But I think those of us who talk when, and we should be willing to criticize other people's customs when those customs are dangerous. But I think that um, we should be cautious sometimes. We should be cautious about who we align ourselves with when we criticize other cultures' customs. Sometimes people who criticize other cultures, sometimes people who criticize other cultures really are bigots. And people, but in order to hide that bigotry, instead of saying outright they dislike this specific ethnic group, they say derogatory things about customs, when in reality they're more angry at the ethnic group per se than at the custom. Now, I don't want this to be misinterpreted as an apologia for political correctness. Where do I draw the line? I think that I think that custom deserves to be criticized, regardless of whether it's Western or Eastern. A custom deserves to be criticized when it involves initiation of the use of force. For example, if you come across some culture practicing human sacrifices, call that out and say that's wrong. And accusations of Western imperialism be damned. Likewise, I'm Asian, but whenever I hear about the custom of binding a girl's feet so her feet are small, I don't approve of that. I think that is barbaric. And I'm glad that that practice is out of use. I'm glad people will stop with that. Likewise, I'm not a fan of circumcision. I don't think it's a good custom. So I've looked into it, and it seems to me that consensus among doctors is that there's a slight health benefit to having circumcision, but that benefit is so small, so minuscule, that on a cost-benefit analysis, doctors say they really don't think it's worth it. So I really don't recommend circumcision. If you are circumcised, of course, I don't think you should be stigmatized. It's nothing to feel embarrassed about. You know, but in the future, I would prefer that people in the United States not go ahead with that. So that's my take on it. So criticizing customs associated with other ethnic groups is not racist. Sometimes, though, we should be cautious and keep in mind that some people, when criticizing other cultures' customs, they really don't care about customs themselves. They really are hostile towards those other ethnic groups. Now, how can you tell the difference? How can you tell if someone who really does have a legitimate gripe against another culture's customs versus someone who really just doesn't like other people, for other reasons like skin color? I think when you get to know people, when you talk to them long enough, you can tell the difference. I think when you really get to know people, you can really tell whether they're legitimately concerned for the well-being of people in another culture, or if criticism of a custom is just an excuse for something else. So that's my take. Thank you for watching. Mahalo.